Hello out there to all of my brave listeners. This is Heather Vickery. Welcome to the Brave Files podcast. I am delighted to be spending the next little bit of time with you. I've been so excited to bring you this week's guest. When you hear his story, you're going to be amazed and inspired by the extreme level of bravery he faces day in and day out and will continue to face, even potentially physical harm due to him for living his authentic truth. I'm so excited to share it with you. Honestly, when I think about that kind of bravery, I feel a little bit silly that the big brave thing I'm doing right now is making sure you all know about our Patreon page. It costs quite a bit of money to put this show on week after week, and we have so many big things we want to do. We're at a point where we really need financial support from all of you out there who love and listen to the show, and those of you who are guests on the show. For as little as $4 a month, you can make a tremendous difference and help us keep the show going strong. There are so many great things. We have awesome, whatever you want to call them, prizes, rewards, sponsor benefits. So things like Brave Inspiration text messages, having an episode dedicated to you or someone you love, our Choose Bravely mugs, a copy of my gratitude journal. The list goes on and on. So please head over to patreon.com/bravefiles and check out all of the different tiers and all the cool things you can get by becoming a patron and help me out here. My goal is to have 125 patrons in the first 3 months. I have 15. So I'm looking for 110 more to really make this splash and make it work and make it easier to bring the show to you week after week. So thank you so much for your time and your consideration. I am so excited to share this particular episode with you. So I will stop talking, but I know you're going to head over to patreon.com/bravefiles, right? Here we go with this week's episode. Thanks so much for being here. Here's the show.
Transparency, responsibility, integrity.
You are listening to The Brave Files, real stories from people living courageously. You can listen to the show anywhere you enjoy podcasts, and we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on Apple Podcasts. It really does make a difference, and we appreciate it. Now here's your host, Heather Vickery.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Thursday. It's the Brave Files Day, so I am glad to have you here. This is your host, Heather Vickery. You know, sometimes I forget just how easy it is to stand up for what you believe in the United States. Activism is hard no matter what, and we're all a little bit worn down, but we have freedoms that so many others don't have. Today's guest is an extraordinary human who has put his life and business at risk to be who he is in his home country of Uganda. Michael is the founder of McBurn Tours and Travel and the McBurn Foundation. We're going to learn all about them. They specialize in LGBTQ travel and tours in Africa. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Heather.
I'm excited to have you. So everybody, when I was first introduced to Michael, we met via my partner, Bernadette, and she said to me, hey, honey, do you want to interview a gay man who owns a travel company in Uganda? And I said, they have gay people in Uganda? And of course, I was making a joke. I know that there are gay people everywhere, but it's dangerous to be gay in Uganda, Michael. Tell us a little bit about your personal journey.
Yeah, it has been tough, or it is tough to be out here as a gay person or part of the LGBTQ community. I first got to know about who I am way back when I was young, but I did not pay much attention to it. And of course, with the society around us, the norms and the culture here, it is really hard. It's
How
hard.
old were you when you started to feel like you were a little bit different from some of the other boys, but you didn't pay any attention to it?
Yeah, this was way back, I think, in my high school. Mm-hmm. But then I knew always that this is wrong, this is not right. I tried to fight the feeling, fight what was in me until I would not fight it anymore.
Yeah. And talk to us a little bit about that transition for you. How did you go from fighting it to deciding you simply couldn't anymore? And tell us, I know a little bit, but the listeners don't know, your background is in human resources. You had a job that was then endangered. Can you walk us through that journey a little bit?
Yeah, I had a job way back that I lost just because my bosses had suspicions that I was part of the LGBTQ community. I was working for this company that was way back in 2012 till 2013 for 1 year. And then on these suspicions, I was actually forced to resign from my job just because I was part of on just suspicions.
Just suspicion. What do you know what led to their suspicion?
Yeah, or we used to have we used to call them family get-togethers where you come with your partner, and of course, always people would be asking why. I mean, I didn't have a routine girlfriend that they would see always, or I would come to office or check on me, and so they saw me as a single man, even when at times, of course, I came with my cat. I came with my cousin.
Yeah. Who was your female? Your cousin was female.
Who was my female.
Wow.
And she knew she would always joke, hey, I'm your girlfriend. So any party that we have to attend next? So I'll be like, okay, just prepare your shoes and dress and we'll go.
I love that she was there to support you. She obviously knew, right?
No, she didn't.
She didn't know.
At least she didn't know, but at least she knew that I was still a single man.
Did anyone in your family know?
Not really. Yeah, one of my cousins, I opened up to one of my cousins who at first actually isolated me so much. And that left me so alone. So he was the only person that I really trusted, that I would really open up to. And
that backfired.
Kind of, yes, because he became a little distant, stopped talking to me. We would rarely talk. It would go months and months without knowing what I'm doing or not even knowing what's going on in his life. Yet before we were really so close.
That's sad. Are you out to your family now?
No, I don't have to be out to my family, and I'll let them know if they have to know. I mean, of course, they've had suspicions before.
Right.
They've had suspicions before, and actually one of the sisters to my mom was told me that they were talking and like, hey, your auntie so and so was saying that, you are taking long to get married. You could be gay. And I threw back a question to her that I think I know 3 of your sisters who are not married, and actually they do not have kids. Do you want to mean that they are also lesbians?
What did she say?
She didn't respond. So she just kept quiet and didn't take the conversation further.
So obviously being out in Uganda is tricky, and in some ways you are, and in some ways you aren't. You lost this job, and then what did you do from there?
Yeah, when I lost my job, I really thought hard. While doing this job, I had always wanted to help the elderly and the ill that couldn't afford to take care of themselves. Just because of my story, I had a sick mother with rheumatism arthritis, and she was sick, and no one cared for her apart from my grandmother.
In most of your life, she was sick, right?
Yes, because she got sick when she was 19.
Oh my goodness.
So for the following 28 years, she was really sick and crippled. She wouldn't do anything for herself apart from trying to write and hold a fork to eat food. So she had to be helped in with the rest of the things, bathing and all the sorts.
Wow. That's a lot to handle as a young boy.
Yeah, it was always my grandmother doing that. And of course, when she was not there, I had to do the work myself to care for my mother. And so when she passed on in 2007, and then I was left with my grandmother. So we had to care for each other. But of course, she was getting old. And of course, I had to take care of her. And by then I was still in school. So it was a little hard. So I knew that there were people out there who had parents, maybe sick, less fortunate to do anything for themselves, and they needed help. And I remember when this happened, someone helped me to pay for my tuition for my third year at university. I was like, okay, no.
Who helped you pay for your tuition?
A priest at my church.
That's very kind.
Yeah, of course. By then, I was studying to be a priest. Yeah, so it was.
You were studying to be a priest, but you did not go down that path.
No, I didn't. I left.
Did you feel like that was your only option if you were going to remain unmarried in your community, to like being a priest, and they would leave you alone?
Not really. Actually, one of the reasons that I had to leave is because I would not be free if I was to become a priest, I should have been a priest, not engaged in anything else.
Yes.
A true priest. So the fact that I would not be one I would be cheating myself and cheating possibly the service of people. So I decided to leave.
Good for you. That's a deep level of honesty that I don't think all priests partake in.
So I started caring for my grandmother, but during the course when I had this job, I was like, okay, with the love I had for tourism, I was like, maybe I should possibly buy a car that can be hired or rented by tourists, because my salary was not enough to go on helping the elderly and the ill around my community. So this would be an extra income to help with the foundation, with the work that I wanted to do. But then when I lost this job, I was like, okay, fine. I hadn't bought this car, and I was like, instead of just buying a car, why don't I transform this into a company? Because even if I went looking for a job, maybe it would still be hard for me to find one. And that's when I added my passion for tourism, of course, with the foundation work, and I decided to start up the travel company.
Okay. And so how do you combine the travel company with the foundation, and what is the foundation, the McBurn Foundation?
The McBurn Foundation is basically works to help the elderly and the ill in my community that cannot really afford to care for themselves. We find that our government here in Uganda has not really done much to help the elderly. So when people get old and some are in villages, deep in villages, in rural areas, and they can't afford even a meal for a day, and we have HIV and other diseases, we find that these elderly have children, maybe they've passed on due to HIV/AIDS, and they cannot take care of them. And possibly they've left them with grandchildren, just like my mother left me as a grandchild for my grandmother. So I really see that I'm not alone in society. There are other people that are like me. So that's where my focus of work is. And of course, after losing my job, I was like, okay, with the foundation, there are other people who are rejected by their families, who are rejected by their workplaces. So when we have this foundation, of course, and the tour and the travel company, they can get employment in places where they are free to be themselves, but of course, as well, giving back to their community. They have a job, they are free to be themselves in this job, but of course, they're doing work that supports community, that uplifts everyone.
Right. So McBurn Travel is not a nonprofit. You just funnel some of those funds over to the foundation.
Of course, yes.
Yes. I have to ask, how did you get the name McBurn? Where does that come from? Because that's not your name.
I was looking up to my uncle, who was a young man, and always I felt like he's a role model to me, even when he didn't know. And his name is Bernard. So
Michael Bernard, I get it.
So
I got it.
Bernard would be Scottish or Irish, son of Bernard. So I decided to cut off part of the name to use son of Bern, because he was really my model. And yeah. That's how the name got.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's very sweet and personal. Okay, so let's just talk for a second. You have somehow managed to market and target your tourism company to LGBTQ folks not in Africa who want to come in and tour. Is that correct?
Yeah, right.
So that's brave, I think. Do you feel like that's brave?
Yes, I know. It is.
It is, right? I mean, I even think that it's brave for LGBTQ people to even want to travel in Africa. And I mean, I would love to travel, but and you have some really interesting ways that you prepare people to be in your country. And so we'll talk about that. But how did you begin to market, and how do you sort of stay safe and under the radar in Uganda as you build this business?
Yeah, I was at a convention in Berlin, the ITB.
International Travel Tourism Business?
Yeah, International Tourism Bazaar, the ITB in Berlin. And as I walked around, I saw LGBTQ stands,
Yeah.
And here I was like, oh, okay. So I got to talk to someone there. He's Russell Lord. He is in Tel Aviv. And we talk about this LGBTQ travel. And that's when he tells me about the IGLTA, the International Gay and Lesbian Travel Association. And he said, yeah, there are people, I mean, you are coming from Uganda, and just like you were surprised, are there even LGBTQ people here? He was as well. And was like, how are you doing business? And I'm like, okay. It's like people fear to come there. The LGBTQ family, I mean, fears to come to Uganda. Uganda is very homophobic with the anti-gay bill that was there then. Though it was repealed in the courts of law later on. I was like, I told him, I think if everyone fears to do this, if we can't have people come to see the beauty of our country, and of course, when they come, they're bringing in money and building the economy. And he told me, Michael, I think this is really hard and it's a bit difficult, and asked me if I'm ready to get into it, and said, you are still not out, and possibly this will let you out. How will you do this? I'm like, okay, do you know what, Russell? I think someone has to start.
Someone has to start.
Yeah, always someone has to start. There should be a beginning. So if no one can do this, I think I have to start. I mean, these people need to travel. Yes, they love to travel. They need to see my beautiful country. I would love them to see my beautiful country, definitely. I would love them to see the 50% of the gorilla family that we are habiting in Uganda.
That does sound amazing.
Yeah, 50% of the gorillas are in Uganda. So I'm like, okay, we have this beauty. We have the source of the Nile, we have this wildlife in the national parks, and we have the equator. And I mean, Churchill named Uganda the Pearl of Africa. I mean, the beauty. So I would love people to come. And of course, when they come, they are supporting the economy. So, I mean, if someone cannot tell them to come, then I have to start, of course. And of course, when they come, they are supporting these elderly people.
Right.
So that's when I was like, okay, I think I have to start. That's when I actually got to know about the LGBTQ tourism, which actually before I didn't know about.
I love that. Somebody has to be first. Have there been any negative consequences for you since you embraced the LGBTQ travel community?
Not yet.
That's good. Let's say not ever. That's a relief. That's wonderful. Okay. When a gay person decides to partake in one of your tours, how do you keep them safe? Because I would still be afraid.
Yeah. I always tell my guests, and when you come to Uganda, you are safe as long as you don't show your affection on the streets. No one will identify you as being LGBTQ. come in as any other guest, because every culture, every country has its own culture.
Right.
And we just have to respect the culture here, that there is no affection showed in public, not even for the straight people. They do not.
Right.
It's not
Nobody does that.
It's not in the Ugandan culture. So if people kissed, I mean, that would make a little bit of news, of course.
Right.
It's coming down, of course, for the straights kissing in public. And I mean, it's getting really down. I mean, people are getting used to it, but it's not really common. You will not go down the street and find people possibly kissing, maybe holding hands. Yes, they will do. So when you come in Uganda, when the LGBTQ travelers come in Uganda, I mean, we keep everything on the low. Don't kiss on the streets. Don't show affection on the streets. We'll book you in hotels we know that are really friendly. And
that's huge.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying really to get to, identifying. Of course, I already identified, and we talk to these hotel owners and the management that when we have our LGBTQ travelers, of course, they know that they are safe.
Yeah.
And for that matter, they can actually have a double room instead of a twin room.
You know, even within the United States, sometimes I'm careful about where I travel or how I show my affection or what hotels I stay at. Like, we do our research to make sure that we are going to safe and friendly places. So what a gift to be able to know you could safely travel to Uganda. Do you just do Uganda or other parts of East Africa?
Right now I'm doing Uganda and Rwanda.
Okay.
And we'll expand to the rest of East Africa, possibly by close of next year.
That's very exciting. And your business is really thriving, isn't it?
Yeah, we're trying.
You're such a modest young man, Michael. It's very charming. So what would you say has been the most difficult part of this last part of your journey, of after you lost your job, going full in on this business and then deciding to focus on LGBTQ tourism and keeping yourself safe at the same time? What's been the biggest struggle?
The biggest struggle is when I decided to go into the business right in 2013. That's when I started to think about this, but I had a long whole time to figure out how to do things, and officially starting work in 2014. And just with the Kill the Gay bill that was here, I had a group of over 30 tourists that were coming from South Africa. Mm-hmm. And of course, these were part of them were LGBTQ and others, but it was a group. And then when this came out, when this bill was passed into law,
and what bill? Can you clarify what bill that is?
It is the anti-gay bill here.
And what does that mean? The anti-gay bill?
The anti-gay bill it said that, I mean, you would be imprisoned it would be actually killed. If you found guilty of being gay, you'd be killed.
It's pretty scary.
But then it was repealed in the courts of law. So, but they...
Completely repealed? As in you couldn't be criminalized? It was no longer criminalized?
No. It was repealed completely.
Well, that's amazing. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it was repealed. So
now it's just frowned upon. It's not a socially acceptable, but it is not illegal to be gay.
No. And of course, there was a man here who was convicted, of course, with the videos put out and pictures when he was having sex with another man. And of course, they were paraded in the courts of law, but then they were not found guilty because there was consent of adults.
Huh. Interesting. I mean, that's good, but that's really interesting.
Yeah, they found out that there was consent between the two, and of course, they were let go.
I feel like that's very lucky. And also from a perception, not what I would have expected. So it sounds like maybe things are slowly getting better. Folks like you who say somebody has to be first, you're creating change.
Yeah, maybe.
It's pretty exciting. And then what's been your biggest pleasant surprise throughout this journey?
The biggest pleasant surprise was when I received the scholarship to attend the IGLTF convention this year in Toronto.
And so tell everybody what that is for the folks who don't know.
Yeah, the IGLTA is the International Gay and Lesbian Travel Association, and every year they hold a convention where all members and the non-members, of course, get together for a convention, for a conference to learn more and share ideas, business ideas, know these places, these new places where LGBTQ travelers can go. So it's more of a business convention, getting together, people exchanging ideas to grow their businesses. And of course, you apply for the scholarships. Right. Personally, I would not afford to fly to Toronto.
Yeah, that's a pretty big trip.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't afford doing that because the business is really trying to grow. And of course, sometimes I'm stupid. I think some people tell me that I'm stupid because when money comes in and I'm seeing people that need it, I take it all out and give it out.
Well, maybe a little financial planning assistance wouldn't hurt, but I love anybody who gives something to people in need. So
no, because why I started the company was not for profit. It was to help the elderly.
Right.
So when I see that someone needs something to eat, when I see that someone needs a blanket, needs beddings, and money is right here, I feel that I'm not doing enough. Why I started the travel company was to help these folks. So I have to help them. So I would not afford such a trip myself. So
it's exciting.
That's when,
yeah.
So when I received the scholarship, of course, the IGFTA Foundation paid for my accommodation bills, my flights, and everything. So I was like, wow. So that was a surprise, and I'm so thankful to them that they made this happen. And of course, I met people I met very many people. That's when I met Bernadette. I wouldn't have been here speaking to you if it was not. Yeah. That's and cool. I'm so thankful that I went, and I'm so thankful to her as well that she's putting me out there meeting people,
Yeah. Has your business grown or developed more since you went to Toronto?
Not yet, because of course, many people plan their travels a year or so.
That's true. Yeah, they really do, especially a big enough trip to go to Africa.
Yeah, and Toronto was just in May. So we are seeing the results, yes. I'm right on the podcast here. We're talking to people here and there, but the actual people flying in, that hasn't materialized as yet. So we hope that next year we'll have bookings then, because people then will have planned for their travels, of course.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So, Michael, I'm curious. You have had a difficult path, but lots of successes, lots of wonderful things to celebrate. How do you celebrate when things go well, when you have a win, when you book a client, when you have a success? How do you stop and honor that and celebrate?
It's funny, and I would say stupid as well.
Stop. No stupid ways to celebrate.
Yeah, because when I book a client and confirm a client, if I'm saving, let's say, $100, and I confirm a booking, I celebrate that booking by giving away this $100 that I'm saving to those that need it.
That's not silly or stupid. It's a beautiful way to celebrate. You share it with others.
Because I know, okay, the client has booked, has really confirmed the booking. And of course, so there is money coming in. So if I'm keeping this, and of course someone needs food and someone needs medicine, then I can part with this $100.
That's beautiful. I love the idea. All of you out there listening,
that's how I really celebrate.
You could do that, right? Like when something awesome happens to you, part of your celebration could be to give something to somebody in need. That is such a beautiful thing. And I hope it inspires lots of people who are listening. And it's also a great tie-in to my next and pretty much last question, which it's other than the McBurn Foundation, which I know is deeply connected to your mission and your goal and who you are. What is your favorite charitable organization to support?
It would be, and it is, the IGLTA Foundation.
And that's the foundation that pays for the scholarships to bring folks like you to the event each year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting. So from a scholarship standpoint, because people are out there thinking, it seems obvious why someone in your situation would need this sort of scholarship. But overall, like, why does somebody need a scholarship to go to a gay tourism and travel conference? Like, who are they reaching?
Yeah, of course, they're reaching the small businesses. Mm-hmm. I got a small business scholarship, people that, of course, cannot afford. And when we go there, I mean, I had the opportunity to speak to these people. That's when many of them got to know about Uganda because they didn't even know that Uganda existed. And if they know, they only knew the negatives, that right. Uganda is homophobic. Actually, it's such conventions that people discover more. They discover destinations that they didn't know about before. That's when they got to know that actually there are even gay people in Uganda and it's okay to travel safely, because many people are asking, hey, you're speaking here. Do you stay in Toronto? Or, I mean, is it even safe to come to Uganda?
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey guys, I think it is very safe, because actually even after these 6 days, I'm going back to Uganda.
Yeah. Well, that is the conception. It's just like I said to Bernadette, there are gay people in Uganda. And I clearly didn't mean that, but I'm like, yes, I would like to talk to this person. So I love that. I think that's great. The opportunity to expose people to things they would never otherwise know about, and to begin to change culturally acceptance and perception within your own country. That's great.
And of course, we are supporting our own,
Absolutely.
When the business grows, that means more folks of the LGBTQ family will get jobs.
Yeah, because do you only hire people in the LGBTQ community?
That would be discrimination. Yes, no, I don't.
But you encourage them to apply. That would be discrimination. I love that.
No, I encourage them to apply, and of course, the consideration comes,
Yeah, I think that's great. What would a trip, this is so random because I'm sure it depends on a lot of different things, but I'm in Chicago. Let's say Bernadette and I decided to book a tour and travel to Uganda through you. What kind of expense should we expect?
Yeah, it depends on so many things, just like you said. It depends on how many days you are here.
Let's say a week, 7 days, just ballpark.
Yeah, it will be maybe 7 to 9 days, depending on the number of group. If it's a group, of course, if it's possibly a group estimate, if it's a group of possibly 5 to 6 people, everyone would part with about 5,500.
Okay.
Dollars. That's in a shared accommodation.
Gotcha.
And of course, that would be 4-star, but that would exclude the air tickets.
Okay, so it's no inexpensive trip to head over to Uganda from the States.
Yeah.
I would love to go to Africa. I think that would be very cool. Okay, Michael, can you share your 3 words with us one more time? Actually,
this time I would like to say there are 4. It's an acronym. Being in a travel company, I use the acronym TRIP: transparency, responsibility, integrity, and professionalism. TRIP.
I love that. That's a great acronym.
Thank you.
And that's what I would look for in a travel agent, a tour company. So that's really beautiful. Michael, you have such a tender soul, and I love the work that you're doing. I love and so honor your willingness to be first to speak out, to create change, to welcome people, and to teach people that you have a beautiful country and to care for the sick and the elderly. What I love the most is that the lessons you give remind us that risks are high, but the cost of not taking the risk is actually higher.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Michael, thank you for everything that you're doing. I'm so proud to know you, and hopefully one day we can meet in person.
Thank you, Heather, and thanks for hosting me.
All right, everybody. So I hope you'll go out and do something in your community today. One of my favorite things about Michael is his willingness to support those in need. So if nothing else, go out on this Thursday and do something kind for someone. It goes a really long way. This is Heather Vickery reminding you, as always, to choose bravely. This episode is brought to you by Audible. Audible content includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks. Check it out for yourself and get your 30-day free trial, including one free audiobook. Simply visit audibletrial.com/thebravefiles and voila, free audiobooks. What could be better than that?
Thank you for listening to The Brave Files. Be sure to visit thebravefilespodcast.com to access the show notes and discover fantastic bonus content. Music composed and produced by Matt Lewis of Union Music, LLC.
Special thanks to our editor and audio mix expert, Andrew Olson. I am eternally grateful for all that he does to make each week sound so fantastic. You can hear more of Andrew's work at findandrewolson.com.